So it has been long overdue. I haven't had a guest on the podcast for some while. Of course, you haven't seen Luke's face also on the podcast for a while, so you've probably gone tired of whatever is over here. So I found ourselves a guest. Met this guy about 14 minutes ago, which is also good. And then found out he was in the same school as I was, which was interesting, but also humbling. But anyway, as I said, we have got a guest today. His name is Migael, but there's many pronunciations like Migael, as the English people say. Yeah. But his name is Migael Dannhauser. He is an automotive photographer living in Cape Town. He was also in the same school as I was in Paul Roos, which is, of course, the best school in the country, but that's not what this podcast is about. But welcome to On the Overrun episode, probably 10 or season 2. I can't remember what number, but it really doesn't matter. Today we're just going to dive deeper in the life of an automotive photographer. Of course, he hasn't been in the business a long time, but he has been in the business, and he's got some perspectives and stories to share. Of course, he's got some interesting people he's worked with over the years.
Yes.
But it'll be interesting to just dive deeper into the world of what it entails to be an automotive photographer. As I said, the goal of this podcast also includes gathering different communities and different people in the car industry, in the car world. You're not just your supercar owners or your spotters or your racing drivers, but a lot of other people also, like the photographers. So, Migael, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Hey, it's nice having you here.
Yeah.
It's like having a guest on the episode for some time.
Yes, it is.
Because, you get some people who just don't cooperate and you just never hear back from them.
Yeah.
But hey, that's fine, you know.
I mean, as I mentioned, it's like I enjoy local people trying to do things. So when I see someone trying to build something, I get behind it, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's early days for you, as you said, but I think if you want to do 50 episodes, like you said, there's no reason why it shouldn't be a success.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I appreciate the encouragement, and I think the car industry in South Africa, we spoke about it a bit earlier, but the car industry in South Africa isn't massive, but it's growing rapidly.
Yeah.
People are gaining appreciation for these cars and also the people around them quite quickly. And it's not like the best car in this country is a Golf GTI. We have some proper stuff.
Yeah.
This weekend also seeing a Mclaren 720S, Huracan Performante, Novitec nonetheless, driving around Cape Town, Liberty Walk, Aventador, we also spotted. So some quite exciting stuff, some quite big plays in the game.
Yeah.
But Migael, I think you can just kick off telling us, how your passion for cars came to be. What's your story? Were you going to be an automotive photographer? Did you maybe have something else in mind? I don't know, maybe gaming.
Yes, no, very much so.
But maybe you can share your story a bit around how that came to pass.
No, sure. So I actually, let's start a little bit before the car thing reignited. Okay. So grew up watching F1 with my dad. Always been into engineering and cars, I think like most guys. Then I went into gaming, did that for a few years, and then when that started trickling down, especially after high school, I was still pushing to maybe make a career out of it, because I was playing quite competitively.
Yeah.
And then when that came to an end, I thought, okay, what is next? Because I think a lot of people who are involved in a certain industry, when they leave that, they don't know that it's part of the identity that's gone.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of sports stars start taking drugs and all this stuff, because they don't know who they are anymore. But anyways, so I thought, okay, what can I go back to? And then I thought, okay, cars. I still love cars. So I started getting back into the scene. And then a key moment I actually remember was I was at the park in Strand where I grew up with my 2 cousins, and a green Lamborghini Aventador with a Novitec kit drove past. Or I heard the sound. It sounded like an earthquake. It sounded like Godzilla doing something. And I was like, what is that? And I look and I just see this green Lamborghini, and you never get supercars out there.
Yeah. Not in Strand.
Not in Strand. There's nothing sporty in Strand. Only old people. So this ended up being a certain big collector, which you might know. I don't want to name drop on here, but same guy with the Pagani.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. We know this guy.
Okay. So, that was one of the key moments at the start.
Yeah.
And then I'll get back to the middle pit now. But then like when I ended up working for Daytona in 2019,
which is awesome,
which was pretty nice. Like I actually ended up, that car came in and I drove that exact same car.
No, you lie.
So it's like it came full circle, like from
what
like
a privilege.
Well, yeah, no. Honestly, it was one of the most insane. Like, I didn't take it out.
Yeah.
It was just in the parking lot, like, because we were doing a little photo shoot with it. So we're driving up and down the ramps, and I mean, it's a roadster, so it's like a roof off, in the parking lot, and it just howls, just makes noise, pops and bangs everywhere. Like when we parked it up at the end, so we were shooting it with an SVJ.
Yeah.
Okay. So which is yeah, it's like who does that? So. I park it up at the end and we go to our neighbors. There's like at home right next to us. So I go to them and I'm like, oh, did you hear it? I'm like, yo, we could hear it every single time you moved it.
That's crazy.
And that's on the roof, which is like 3 stories up.
That's crazy.
And I was like, okay, well, there we go. But yeah, so, okay, that was one of the key moments at the start. But then I really only got into it at like the start of 2019 because I was studying film production from July 2018 till July 2019. And at the start of 2019, like February, March, I think, I just went into Crossley Web, took some photos, and just posted them on my socials. And then some of the guys there saw it, or like I tagged them, and then they like kind of took me to the boss the next time I came in and were like, get this guy to do photos for us.
Yeah.
So then I worked like kind of part-time for Crossley for about 3 months. Then I got fired from that job.
Oh no!
Just there was a misunderstanding.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Well, okay.
Misunderstanding on whose side?
I think both. Okay, I'll tell the story. Okay, so you
Please
here.
do. Please do.
Okay, so there's 3 cars involved in the story. There's a G-Wagon, an AMG GTS, a silver one,
Yeah.
and a yellow AMG GTS.
Okay.
Was it yellow? I think it was.
Solar beam yellow.
Yeah. I think it was white, actually. So there's a silver one and a white one. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
So the G-Wagon and the white GTS was with Crossley for detailing and the whole story. So this one Saturday morning, both of them are leaving. I take photos of the G-Wagon leaving because that's like part of the whole, like, they wanted to document like the whole detailing process.
Of course.
So, but the things were rushed that morning because like the car wasn't, like the car had to just be finished up. So I went downstairs to the detailing area, not to like take photos, just to like try and help out to get the car out. Because for me at the end of the day, like it's still important that like their business, works as it should.
Yeah.
So I went down, we finished the G-Wagon, owner shows up to collect. Mike, the detailing guy down there, he says, dude, go get your camera. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. So I go fetch the camera, come back, take some photos. Then I go back up, I start editing them, and I'm aware the GT needs to leave at some stage, but I'm not sure when on that day. So I think I walked back up from the detailing center. Oh, wait, okay. So I went up, started editing the G-Wagon pictures, okay?
Yeah.
Then I went to the bathroom or something. And when I came back, Dave, who works there, was like, oh, dude, did you see the GTS parked outside? So I go out, and it's like, this is the silver one. So I'm like, oh, okay, this is nice. I haven't seen one in this color before. Like, I check it out. And I go back in, and then when I go past, I see Mike and Gareth Crossley in the office, like, kind of looking at me strangely. So I'm like, okay. So I go in and like, what's up? And they're like, oh, did you get pictures of the GT? I'm like, no. Like, I mean, it's just a random car parked in the street. Like it's
it
not something I take pictures of.
Yeah.
So then like, I can't remember. We exchanged a few words, and then like, they just said like, oh, dude, you clearly don't get it, whatever. And then basically fired me on the spot. And then like when they did that, I realized, oh wait, the white GTS left, or the white GT left without me knowing. So they were referring to that car, not the silver one. And then like, that was basically it. Like there was just like a misunderstanding. I wasn't aware that the white car was leaving. And then like, they were just like, okay, you don't get it, bro. And then like, that was it. So that's kind of how it went down.
That's bad.
Yeah, it's like, it's just one of those things.
Yeah. But unfortunately, like, it isn't something that, killed your possibility of having a career.
Oh no, not at all.
It was just basically misunderstanding.
Exactly.
Job done.
So
get on to other things.
Exactly. So then I left that job. 3 months later, I finished my studies.
Yeah.
And then Daytona calls me. Because I had a bit of a relationship with the guys there, Jonathan and Nick at the time.
Yes.
And they phoned me like, oh, Nick's leaving. Do you want the job? I'm like, okay. So like, you know, send in the CV, go through some interviews and stuff. And like, that's where the Daytona thing started. So then for like the next 6 months, I worked there, like drove pretty much like every modern supercar. Like it was like,
how crazy is that?
Like in terms of cool jobs.
And how cool were you? How cool. What age were you at that time?
2019, I think I was 20. I think I was 21 when I started.
21.
So I can claim I drove my first McLaren at 21.
How crazy is that?
Yes.
That is is a dream.
Yeah. So
wow.
I mean, of course, there were like days where we just sat and did nothing.
Of course.
But then other days, like one of the highlights was, I think I had to go do something for the boss, for Andrew, and then he said to me like, okay, if you could do this, you can go like do your photo shoot with a 720. So I'm like, okay, cool.
Sure.
That's like a reasonable exchange.
Yeah.
So the Saturday morning, wake up at like 4:30. I asked him, is it okay if a mate comes with me to like help me out or whatever. So wake up at 4:30, go down to the dealership. My friend meets me there, and like it was honestly like dream level stuff. So like we just open the dealer, 720S, 5 a.m. roads are dead.
Of course, no one.
No one's out on the road. And we just go down from like all the way from like from Waterfront where Daytona is,
Yes.
like all the way down to like Llandudno, and just take some photos. Yeah.
Over Cliff Street, down Camps Bay through.
Yeah, through Camps Bay. And I mean, just say it wasn't track mode. Let's leave it there.
So if you don't know Cape Town or Llandudno or the location, it's the most unbelievable roads.
Yeah, it's one of the best roads I think in that area.
In terms of driving roads, yes, it's good, but more like the scenery, it's unbelievable. Like you basically come over the side of Table Mountain, head over to Camps Bay where like the most beautiful beaches are. Like in terms of scenery, like you don't get better.
I mean, when we were out there, it was still like night. But like one of my most like well received photos on Instagram was actually like literally just the 720 parked at one viewing point with the door open and like Lion's Head in the background, and you can just see the sky like there's like a purplish shade, and it's just the outline of Lion's Head. And I think it's just the vibe that image creates, like the feeling of getting up before day, like getting out there just driving.
Open road.
Yeah, open road, and it's just such like a vibe to it.
Yeah.
It's still like one of the greatest memories I have actually of like cars.
I can understand. So that was part of your job at Daytona.
Yeah.
And then from there on, did you continue working with companies, or were you just going freelance? What was your story from there?
Yeah. So. January 2020, which is this year, depends on when you release this, came like I had another fight with the owner of Daytona and this client who owns the Lamborghini from earlier. I had a fight with them, also didn't end well. Seems to be a habit.
Yeah.
But I mean, at least...
Seems like a pattern.
Yeah. But I mean, it works.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so that ended. And then from there on, I've just been doing freelance, like for brands, for guys, like who want to do cool things. Like the one I told you about earlier, the one with Brent van der Scheef from White Knuckle Adventures. Like did the i30N with, his name escapes me, but with this legendary racing driver. And like we did some shots and stuff on Kalani. I didn't mention this, but like, we did rolling shots on Kalani, which is like crazy. A box ticked for me. Yeah. Like that's something like, I don't know, you kind of...
That's like car magazine shootout.
Exactly. Level. It's like something you kind of dream of as a photographer.
Yes, of course.
So it's like flippin' sick, actually. But, I mean, it's not always like, mind-blowing. Sometimes it's like, some of the stuff I do for Porsche is like like literally just like a front 3/4 shot of like a Cayenne. It's like, that's boring.
Did you say you work for Porsche?
No, not
that's
like...
mad.
Just... like
did some jobs for them.
Yeah, jobs for them, like shoots for them.
Yeah. Even though you're just shooting a Cayenne, the fact that you can say you worked for Porsche, did a job for them.
Yeah, that's cool. That's obviously, cool. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much my story. I mean, so
you did some cool jobs. Still going
Yeah.
on, of course. You are very young now. You are 23.
Yeah.
So I think what's also very cool about, and we spoke about this a bit earlier off camera, is just the community you also build as an automotive photographer. Yes, some people may confuse automotive photographers for being car spotters.
Yes.
Sometimes,
They merge.
But
Yes.
sometimes they are distinct, which in this case, you are not a spotter. Now and then you do spot cars.
Yes.
But rather focusing on automotive photography.
Yeah, I think that's like a big distinction. Like, okay, so I'm good mates with a lot of the spotters, as I mentioned, and I came in like after them into the scene, and I think what's like helped me a lot, like do all these cool things, is being able to actually add at least some sort of value to these brands. And I mean, like everyone can take a photo on their phone, but if you can take a photo that really makes people like kind of like go wow or whatever, or just look at it for like a second longer, then brands appreciate you, and then like they let you drive a 720S and you give them cool photos or whatever. It's like there's an exchange. Whereas if you're just like doing what anyone can really do, they're not going to reward you for it. So like that's kind of how I came into it. But yeah, I mean, spotting, it's just also very time consuming. Yeah. So it's not something I really do.
It's going hunting. you set it away for the goat or whatever to come running fast.
Yes.
But also with automotive photography, like you said now, having the ability to actually take a photo that people look a second or two longer. Yeah. That's difficult because people have a very short attention span, and especially scrolling through Instagram, like you just go, okay, cool car, whatever, cool car, off Google, saw this already, whatever. Yeah. Everybody has seen this image, but I think being an automotive photographer, I went through your Instagram page just like briefly, and the type of pictures you can immediately see, like this is this kind of photographer. You sort of, there's a pattern between the type of shots you take. Because just taking a phone with just taking a picture with your phone, like a normal car, like that's cool, But in terms of getting the lighting right, getting the angle right, and of course you aren't just someone who takes photos with your phone, like you are a legit photographer. Yeah. You go to some lengths and extremes, and you sort of have the vision to take a photo that really, grips and has an impact. But I think like I have to encourage you also, being an automotive photographer, especially in a world where anybody and everybody can create content. Yeah. Like that's difficult, and it's difficult to get your name out there. And although you are still a rather small player, I think the fact just like as you told earlier about like just going to crossing and taking the photos, I think just heading out, doing the work, putting in the time. I mean, it does pay dividends at the end of the day. Yeah, 100%. Of course, I'm very much a small player in the podcast world. Yeah. But hopefully in due time, just continually putting in the effort that leads to something more. Yeah, no, and I think it does. I think a lot of the local brands still need to realize the value in like digital media or like getting their social media right. Yeah. Especially for like us younger crowd. I mean, everyone's on there. Yeah. My parents aren't on there, and they're the ones buying cars. But I mean, like, yeah, that's true. In a few years. Or even now, but in a few years especially, it will like pay off, like growing a big following. And I think there's so many, like even Daytona, if I was still there, the types of sick content we could make, that I wasn't capable of then, but that I can do now, like actually like makes me upset. Yeah. Because there's nowhere else, or no one else really is interested or like understands the value that it brings. But like, you see dealerships overseas, like let's think of like McLaren Newport Beach, I think. Yeah. Like their Instagram is like massive, like Romans International. Yes, they're like massive. Yeah. And like Crossley and Webb and Archive, these guys can be the same size easily. They are. Same with Daytona. Like, just the look and the vibe. Yes. It's like world class, Yeah, exactly. And it's just about like people don't care where the content comes from, for the most part, from what I understand or from what I see. Yeah. They just care about what they see, and like I've noticed this when, like,
the i30N photos I did last week, okay? Those photos were probably not too nearly as well as just like someone else who took a picture of a Lamborghini with their phone.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they see the car.
That's so true.
And that's why these guys like Archive, Crossley, Daytona, even Ferrari and Cape Town still need to like, they're still getting onto it. Porsche also to some extent, but like just a picture of a cool car is enough to get people's attention.
That's true.
And like if you just keep doing that and then also kind of like push the quality up, like the same way dealers overseas use Stefan Bauer, they use Alex Penfold to like give them really good photos that people like look at and save and use as wallpapers. And I mean like, the amount of guys who use like a photo of Alex Penfold where it just says like DK Engineering on the front.
Yeah.
Like
yes.
Like
that guy's all over the place.
It could, but it could say Crossley and Webb.
Yeah.
You know, or it could say whatever. It's just like, I think it just takes time for like people to realize like what's the value in it and like what's really capable.
Yeah.
With really pushing that stuff.
I think with go for it, please. So with automotive photography also, a lot of the most famous guys, like a lot of them, like in Alex Penfold, who sticks with DK Engineering, you get someone like James Lipman, who works with Chris Harris. So he worked with Chris Harris doing like Drive and all these other shows and everything. So a lot of them stick with these kind of big brands.
Yeah.
But a question I also wanted to ask is, you've worked with some dealership groups and some brands, and of course you know a lot more now than you did, a few years prior.
Yeah.
But how much free reign do you have in terms of the type of content you shoot? Is it very much, down to what they want to do and you just, push the button? Or are they very much entrusting you in terms of creating the best content?
Okay, that's a good question. I think it depends on who you're talking about. But like with Porsche, for example, they used to have a mate of mine, Tian Buerta, who used to work there. He left. He's on his own. Let's not go there. But he works on a farm now, flying drones.
Okay.
But yeah, so he was like a car spotter before he worked for Porsche. So he did photos and stuff for them, and he left, and they needed someone to do photos. So that's kind of why I came in, and they don't like. No offense to anyone working there, and I don't mean this in this way, but it's just like they don't know exactly what they need, but they know they need something.
Yes. Yeah.
So when I did the first shoot for them, it was kind of just like a blank canvas, and it was just about finding a middle ground. So like the consistency between shots weren't like perfect, and it really like when I'm doing kind of like catalog shots, I either want it to be super consistent. So like with the stuff I did for Daytona's Auto Trader and everything. That would be like I would put the camera on the same position, I'd park the car in the same position at the same angle, and they would all look like at least roughly similar. The same with if you look at Crossley and Webb's listings or like their photos.
Like in terms of brand identity.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and you just have to find that. When it comes to like other projects, it really depends on what car it is, where it is, what's the scenario. So with the thing I did with Brent, that was like, he said, okay, these are kind of the shots I want. And then he leaves the rest to me, really.
Yeah.
Like shots of him and the guy talking, shots of the car on the track, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's not just like, oh, we want the car there, we want that in the background, press the button.
They could have done it themselves.
Yeah, or maybe.
Maybe, yeah. Of course, you have some more expertise. But I think that's also working with brands now that maybe have a bit of a more set idea of what they want. I think as a photographer, if you are more experienced, you can go to them and say, listen, I hear what you're saying, but I think rather this, maybe this will work a bit better. But often it's difficult to show them the vision you have. I think it's because you know what works, and for a guy who's hiring you because they don't know how to, it's necessarily difficult to carry over what you want to do.
I think I won't be specific, but there is a dealership I've worked for where it's just we don't see eye to eye. Like we just don't have the same vision for the stuff. And at the end of the day, like no offense to them, but like I spend more time on, like if it's for social media, I spend more time on social media than they do. In all fairness, like I know this, so like I know what can work, and I know the type of shots that people want to see or that are popular, because again, like the content you consume also shapes the content you put out.
Sure.
And if you don't consume the right stuff, then it like doesn't really work.
No, it's so true. Yeah.
But yeah, it is sometimes like hard to be like, no, like let's do this, not that, or like let's have this, focus on this and not that, and not try and merge the two. Again, this is like ties back to what I mentioned earlier. The brands sometimes have a vision of what they want, or like but they also they don't know what they need.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of like you have to stand your ground and just tell them like, no, let's do this. Like, I know you kind of have to fight with them sometimes.
Yeah.
But when they see the result, they're usually like, you know, okay, cool, you know.
It's a bit of a stretch for them just like accepting and trusting you at the start, but then they see like the result that comes out definitely worth it.
If they're happy, then it works.
Yeah. But in terms of, so veering off that topic now, in terms of the car community, especially of Africa, we spoke about it a bit now. How do you find the people in the industry? Like, how do you find in general, of course, like it differs, I know. Yeah. But in terms of, you know, your dealerships, your owners, your supercar spotters, just the people you work with in general, like how's their passion, how's their love for cars, how's their love for people, you know, how's it working being in that community, because of course you walk in that circles.
Yeah, I mean, to some extent, like it's not like I'm chummies with, you know, like Oaks' massive collections, but I do speak to some of these guys who've got these cars, and it does vary a lot. So like also depends on which area they're from, you know, which kind of dictates what kind of personality they have, how they act, all this stuff. So some of the Oaks are very arrogant, some Oaks are very humble, some guys drive the car on the limit, sometimes in the wrong conditions. Some other Oaks, like, you never hear the car go over 5,000 RPM, at least not, you know, in public. Like maybe there's a, you know, like a 5er M Frangic drive that no one knows about, where they're ringing the thing out, which in all fairness do that. But yeah, it kind of like really varies. Some people really just buy it for the show, to like show off wealth, which I don't really. Yeah, I don't really like those kind of supercar owners, just because it's like, you know, it's about the driving experience, and all, you know, it's about like enjoying what the car can do.
Less about the car. It's, well, for them, it's unfortunately less about the car.
Yeah, exactly. But that's okay. That's like the supercar guys. Yeah. But yeah, it's a weird dynamic. The supercar guys don't have too much to do with like let's say like the tuner or the JDM guys usually. Like I can't think of anyone who's, you know, got like, let's say like a 458 and also has like a tuned anything, you know? If
like a tuned S2000 or something.
Yeah, exactly that. Or even like a Golf or a M3 or some JDM, you know, whatever. I can't really think of anyone that merges that.
It's usually like when you meet someone who owns those type of cars, it's one type of, you know, it's either you're very high-end supercars, your McLarens, your Porsche, your Ferraris, or it's like very focused on tuning or like more classics orientated. Yeah. Okay, sorry, you just had a short interruption. My phone started ringing, but anyway, we're back at it now. So you spoke about different supercar owners having different kind. You usually just see, you know, either your guy likes his supercars or he likes his JDM or he likes his classics. Yeah. But I think it sort of goes in line majority of the times, and I'm just generalizing, but it sort of goes in line with what type of person they are. Yeah. Like there are some stereotypes.
Yeah, no, definitely. And they're like mostly true, if I'm honest. Like it's surprising like how accurate it is sometimes. Yeah, there are some guys who hate fast cars or hate like they think the McLarens are like too fast. Yeah. Usually like the Porsche guys are very good drivers, but they don't like the super fast cars. They don't like McLarens, but they like driving the crap out of their Porsche. Yeah.
That's more my type of guys then.
Yeah. Let's not go too far before I start offending people. Sure. But yeah, there are some stereotypes. And if you know of a stereotype, it's probably true. Yeah.
What type of guy are you in terms of if you had to have a collection? Like, how would your collection look like? What type of cars are we seeing in the Migael Dannhauser.
A collection. Okay, 600 LT Spider.
Okay. Have you driven one?
I've driven a 600 LT.
Wow.
It was it's quite nice. No, it's lightning fast and the sound and stuff's great.
Yeah.
But okay, there's actually like this is something about McLaren I don't think a lot of people understand. They don't sound that great from the outside necessarily.
Yeah.
Even though like I actually love the way it like whistles.
Yeah.
But the 600 LTs or the LT in general, any of them,
Yeah.
I believe it's when they upshift and actually like downshift. But it's mainly the upshift ones that I've seen do this. They make a pop.
Yeah, they do.
That's like no video conveys the sound. It's literally a gunshot. Like it will ring through your ears.
I've heard that, but you don't see it on a video.
No, video can't capture it. No.
Yeah.
I think like binaural audio is like maybe the only way, but otherwise like no, you just can't. The same way like Aventadors, no video does the sound justice. Like it just isn't possible.
Yeah.
So I think that's also a reason why you don't see so many Aventadors out. You don't see so like McLarens are actually like quite common. But no one's like frothing at the mouth to get like a 600 LT or anything at this stage, I think. And I think it's because they don't you can't know what it's like. You can't get a taste of it without actually like being in it.
Yeah.
Which is a problem the brand should be looking at fixing. But I mean,
unfortunately, McLarens are perceived as cars that are extremely fast and capable, but have electrical issues and have cars burning down.
Yes.
And maybe not as much character. Like, it's very good at everything it does.
Yeah.
But I think the sound, unfortunately, is a bit of an issue. I haven't driven one, of course, but I think it's extremely good.
Yeah.
But maybe it's just, that's the problem. Maybe it's too good at what it does.
I think you're like quite right, especially the reliability thing. I think it's a little bit exaggerated, but it's not untrue. I'm like a little bit McLaren biased, I think.
Okay, sure.
If any of my friends watch this, they'll be like, yeah. But they are good on track, which is what they're made for.
Yeah.
Whereas like a Porsche GT3, especially like a RS, on a public road will probably give you more joy.
Yeah.
Or more emotion at least, because it's just the way it will stick in the corner, the way it will sound, the way like interacting with it. It's very good at that. But when you've got a helmet on and you can't hear the car, a McLaren is like pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, so we'll see a McLaren 600
LT Spider because you can get the flames.
Yeah, the sound.
I mean,
and the flames.
when it shoots flames, you know.
Yeah,
okay.
That's what you want to see.
Yeah, that's the only reason I take that over the other ones. But that an F12.
F12.
I think is one of the.
Not A12.
No.
F12.
F12 I think is one of the best looking. It's still
Pininfarina design. So
it's like everywhere I go, I just imagine F12.
Yeah.
I went on a road trip to like Goritz, it's close to Mossel Bay, and on every single road I was like, oh, there's only F12 here.
F12, yeah.
It's glorious, and I mean the sound is amazing. It's like comfortable to a degree.
It's still like in some way a Super GT.
Yeah, exactly.
Front engine.
But the funny thing is, a lot of people would find it strange to take an F12 over a TDF.
Yeah.
But
it would be strange, but the TDF is maybe too much.
It's too much for what the car is.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the best looking cars out there.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's unbelievable.
Like, I actually haven't seen one in person. I don't know if you have.
I've seen one in a dealership.
Oh yeah, which one was that? The white one?
I saw. Was it yellow?
Could have been yellow. Yeah. The only one in Cape Town, the white one, my mom's actually seen it on the road, but
That's
not me,
crazy.
which like makes me so jealous.
Is your mom into cars?
No, she just knows. I like.
What does that help
she like she just see a flat car and send me a picture. It's like, oh, it's the Pagani Huayra. It's like, oh, okay.
As soon as you're like, this is so true for car people. Every time, like, if your friends or your family know you're into cars, every single car that looks like something interesting that is not a Polo will be taken, like a picture will be taken and will be sent to you. You'll be like, oh, okay,
Caymans.
I've seen a 370Z in my life before.
Okay, geez. Okay, we're not there.
I've seen a Cayman before.
Yes.
Don't worry about it. So.
But no, a friend of mine's girlfriend knows I'm into cars, and she just sends me like Caymans and Boxsters. I'm like, okay. I mean,
wow,
thanks,
amazing.
guys. Like, yeah. I mean, what do I
That's
say?
awesome, you know. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes they send me like 488 spiders and stuff. I'm like, okay.
That's
yeah,
better.
you can send that. That's
yeah,
fine.
that's fine. I'll appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Okay,
that's
so we have
interesting.
600 LT Spider. We have F12.
And then probably like an Aventador SV Roadster.
Mm.
And I mean, that's kind of like enough. I don't know what else I would want to put in.
What are you driving day to day?
Bike.
Okay, fair.
F660 GS.
Yeah. I saw it. It was quite a good one. It's big. It's powerful
It's
enough.
for sale.
It is for sale.
Yes.
There you go.
It's probably gone by the time this goes up.
Okay, that's good. That's good. What's next?
I'm looking at a CB400.
CB400.
A Honda CB400.
Is that like more road bike biased?
Yes. So it's a cafe racer actually.
Okay.
The one I'm looking at is
beautiful.
from.
I love cafe racing.
Yes, it's a 94, and the sound is like, it sounds like 90s F1.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, because it sings, it revs really high. It's 4 cylinders, so it revs really high. And then if you hold the throttle at a position where it's not increasing or decreasing, it's got this rumble, almost like there's a video of the F40 LM being driven like back in the 90s, I think. And I watch it like, I think about it often, but it makes this like burbly like sound, and that bike makes the same sound when you
Just
hold
raw.
the RPM. Yeah, it just raw, like carbureted, you know, it just goes. It's not that fast. I mean, it's smaller than this bike in terms of capacity.
Of course, yeah.
It pulls about the same, but it probably isn't as torquey.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like just the sound alone, I'm sold.
Would you say you're more into bikes or cars?
It's a bit of both.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Because bikes, getting through traffic, bikes.
Sure.
Also, sometimes just getting out to drive, bikes give you like a very free feeling. I kind of think everyone needs to own a bike because it gives you like a new perspective on what the road's like. You're not just sitting in like a little safe tub, you know, sitting in traffic. You're going through the traffic, which I think like makes people understand or think a lot more when they're on the road.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of people are scared of bikes, so it's understandable.
Yeah.
A lot of people are very scared of bikes.
Yeah.
Which
my dad, he doesn't ride bikes, and I haven't driven a bike in my life before. But I think I'm very intrigued. Put it this way, I'm definitely very intrigued.
Yeah.
But he said you can get a bike as soon as bikes get 4 doors. So of course he's not very into it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, so I heard an interesting opinion on bikes from Chris Harris. Now he's major car guy, works Top Gear.
Yeah.
But he's also very much into bikes, and he said just driving a bike it's as you say much more freeing. Like you're much more involved.
Yes.
You continually you need to keep this thing up.
Yeah.
It's not just like chilling in a car. But also it's much more involving drive. But you just need to try one. Like go drive around in a parking lot or whatever. Just try one.
Yeah.
But also if you are one of those guys who are just the bikes are too unsafe, you can't go on the road, you're gonna be killed. Don't even step out of your front door. Don't even go into the world.
Yeah,
Because,
exactly.
It's whatever you do, it's dangerous if you want to see it that way.
Pretty much. Bikes are dangerous. Everything is dangerous, like you say. But it's when you have young guys buying 600cc super bikes,
Big bikes.
when they can do 200 easily.
Yeah.
That's when you hear these horror stories. My bike luckily only tops out at 160 because it's quite torquey. It's an off-road biased bike.
And that is enough.
It's fast enough. I've said multiple times, if I had a faster bike, I probably would have binned it.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if I would have walked away from it either.
Yeah.
Just because I've had scary moments on it, mostly due to me riding the crap out of it. But if it was faster, I think it would have been a bit worse.
A bit lethal.
Yeah. So don't get something too fast, especially on your first bike.
Yeah.
Don't buy a 1000cc BMW when you finally get your first paycheck or whatever, and you're I want a bike.
Yeah.
It doesn't make
no sense.
It's the same way I don't know if you watch Robert Mitchell on YouTube.
I know Robert Mitchell.
Yes. So he says drive a slow car fast first. Do I think 200 laps in Nürburgring because he's at Nürburgring. So like do 200 laps then a slow car and then maybe get a fast car. But like a fast car doesn't make you a better driver.
Yeah.
The same way like
Sure.
even when I was driving the 720S, it's like I'll be so slow compared to even someone like a GT86 because they can corner and like they understand driving a car fast better than I do. I just know like brake for the corner, turn and floor it.
Yes.
And the car takes care of everything.
Yeah.
And like that's mainly because I haven't had the time to like really spend that much time like driving a car and learning a car. So yeah, just having a supercar doesn't necessarily make you a great driver.
Yes, but it does make you look like a driving car.
It does make, yeah, exactly.
A lot of supercars, especially I'd say your McLarens,
yes.
your Porsche, I'd say your Porsches.
Yes.
Even your Huracan Evo these days,
yes.
your 488, these cars are extremely capable.
Yeah.
And in terms of mechanical grip,
yeah,
like you're sorted. For like traction control systems are so good these days.
Yeah.
Like you are not gonna bin it.
Yeah.
You can go full throttle around the corner. The car's not gonna let you like.
I'll argue with you.
No. Like,
No.
what I'm trying to convey is like with traction control systems. Like I'm not saying do it.
Yes.
I'm just saying like majority 90% of the times the car is
taking care of you. Yeah.
So I think that's what supercars sort of do. But I do agree. That's why some people also say, like your MX-5, it's really not a powerful car. Maybe has 100 kilowatt, maybe a bit more.
Yeah.
From a 2-liter, very small car, good weight distribution, very light. But maybe even the best sports car in the world, I wouldn't say compared to 911, but I think because you can use all its power.
Yes.
Like you can use all its capability.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't use 20% of a 911 GT3 RS.
No, I mean...
So that's why, like, that's where the distinction comes in, I think.
No, 100%. And I think even more so with, like, the faster cars. Because, like, the like, 488, 720, Capista, and all of those, they're really, like, in terms of acceleration, a whole, like, leap above. It's like going from, like, no offense to the BMW guys, but, like, an M4 to, like, let's say, like, a GT3.
Yeah.
And then going like a step up, like it's those little steps.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you can't like corner in a slow car, you're not gonna corner or like be a good driver in a fast car.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, either way.
I recently, quite a few months ago, shot a podcast with a guy, and he is very much into his classic cars. The most modern car he has is a Jaguar F-Type. The V6S,
yes,
which is awesome car, also very capable, good sports car, sounds amazing. It's fast, but it's not like it's not 488 fast.
No.
But the rest of the cars, he has like a 328 GT, 328 GT4, which is a Dino. No, sorry, not the 328.
308.
Can't remember the number now. Anyway, it is a Ferrari Dino.
Okay. Yes.
But like the Dino badge Dino.
Yes.
Dino is like he had a Morris Minor. He has like a Porsche 944. He has a 997 Carrera 4S convertible. He has a what do you call it? MGB GT, something quite old cars, not very fast cars. But he said like he complains. I wouldn't call it complaining, but the reason why he doesn't prefer the quick cars is just you can't use it on the road. And also he likes working on his cars, and like if he opens the engine bay of a McLaren, like he's not going to know what's clapping.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Like we love our supercars, and it's awesome to see, and awesome for them to be driven. But you got to be responsible with the way you are driving also. And if you really want to go full out, like you got to know your limits.
Yeah.
You know, go on a track, rather take the time to get in a car.
That 720 that crashed last weekend.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to give my theory about what happened.
Please do.
I think, okay, so from my knowledge, I'm quite sure he was in full track mode.
Yeah.
Which, like, in all fairness, like, I would usually drive it in track mode when I used to drive them. And it wasn't like it was, like, spooky.
Yeah.
Like, okay, a 650S.
Yes.
Even in sport mode.
Oh, really?
is one of the scariest cars I've ever driven.
Really?
When the turbo kicks in, it just does this.
Oh, you wouldn't think it's that scary in terms of, in compared to 720S?
A 720S is easy. You can track and floor it and it will take care of you.
That's crazy.
A 650, like, track mode means ECS off.
Yes.
So sport is already like, kind of like playful. And when the turbo kicks, it just does this with you. But, so anyways, I think he was coming out of that circle. And I think he just got on the gas too early.
Yeah.
And for some reason, like the traction control's still on in track mode, but it's not.
It's limited.
Yeah, I think it's like 20% of its capability.
Mm.
So I do find it surprising, but I genuinely think he came out of the circle and then just floored it, and the back just did that to him.
Yeah.
And that's how he like hit the curb, hit the pole, flipped around. And I mean, that's it. And that again is like, no offense to the owner, I just don't think he's owned slower cars. You know what I mean?
Oh, I get what you mean.
So
maybe just made that jump too quickly.
Yeah, I think he just like, I think it's like the same thing, same boat I would have been in. Is like I didn't really have time to like learn to drive properly with like a slower Porsche that can corner properly, or that kind of thing. Like learning like vehicle dynamics, if you want to call it that. It's kind of just like step on the gas. It, you know, it vanishes.
You do take baby steps. I agree. Like I recently had the opportunity to drive. The guy basically, I met this guy who has quite a few nice cars, supercars like DB9. He has a California.
Okay.
A few others. He has like an old Jag E-Type, very nice cars. Not like 488 yet again, or 720S. But he basically said, come chat, come drive a few cars or whatever. And I was thinking, okay, let's say he would give me like the keys to any of these cars that he has. Like, of course, I'd love to drive the DB9.
Yeah.
And I'd love to drive his California.
Yes.
Or his like F-Type V8,
Yeah.
But it would be stupid because the fastest car I've driven, it's probably like a Mercedes C-Class. Like,
okay, geez.
it's. I'm not going to call it a fast car. It's a normal car.
Yeah.
So it would just be irresponsible for me to choose any of those cars to drive. Like I would rather take his old Rolls-Royce Corniche, which is it's valuable, but it's more like it's easier for me to actually get a grip of how to drive that car. Like you need to take the baby steps in terms of the cars you own.
Yeah.
Like dream car would definitely be something like a GT3 Touring. But you aren't going to start off with that. Like it would be stupid. If I want a Lotto now, I don't want a GT3. Like I would love to have it, but it would be irresponsible. I would literally just set it in my lounge or in my garage and just let it stand there because, I just don't have the driving capability now. For you, it's something different. You like literally went out of school and stepped into a supercar.
Oh, I guess. Okay.
Yeah, what's your opinion on this? Of course.
Okay, I just want to. Maybe I shouldn't do this, but the GT3 Touring.
Yeah.
I've driven it, like.
Yeah, really.
Like 30Ks or something.
Yeah.
Didn't do anything for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
like the engine notes nice, but it just didn't do much for me. In all fairness, I think it's because again I jumped over all the sports cars, just went straight into a 720S.
Yeah.
Which is like hypercar levels of fast.
Yes.
And it was just like I was used to this level of acceleration.
Yeah.
And I jumped
maybe it just didn't do anything.
Just didn't like. I was like, come on.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm just not a good enough driver. But I mean.
But for you it's something different. You jump into those cars, and I think also another reason I wouldn't prefer just immediately going supercar is because like you miss those like increments of progression and like having fun.
Yeah.
Like, I can go have fun now in a MX-5. Like I would enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because like I haven't really driven fast or capable cars.
Yeah.
It would be insane going to a McLaren, but you miss everything in between.
Yeah.
Because you get used to something, and then there needs to be something that's next.
Yeah. No, very much so. I think it's also like you're unlocking like a new level when you go from like an MX-5 to like, I think a GT86 is probably a little bit faster. Then maybe like an M3 or M2 Comp.
Like an old 911 then.
Yes, like moving up and like learning the different quirks. It's the same with bikes. Like each one is a different character, and that's what it's about.
So we almost at the end of our podcast. But I'd like to ask you a question regarding your perfect car. So if you could if you could design, engineer, any car you'd like. So drivetrain, gearbox, engine placement, displacement, turbo, non-turbo, supercharged, whatever, manual, not manual. Like, what would your perfect layout for your perfect car be?
That's a very difficult question.
No, it is quite a difficult question.
I think, not that I'm totally qualified to answer this, but I think I would go with the common thing of just rear mid-engined,
Okay.
rear wheel drive,
Yeah.
and we can make it manual. I think, I don't know, it really depends on what you like. Because I do actually enjoy a fast double clutch gearbox.
Yeah.
In terms of the engine, it's different purposes again.
Yeah.
So I often have this discussion with the car spotters.
Yeah.
Because especially the one guy, Exotics Office A, I don't know if you know his page, but he's completely in love with the Aventador.
Yeah.
He watches exhaust videos on YouTube for hours, every night. And for that purpose, just causing chaos in the city, I would totally have an Aventador.
Yeah.
Or something that makes that sound.
Nothing more drama.
Yes. But then if you're on the open road, something like a F12, I mean, it's just glorious, And then I think if you're on the twisties, I think something like a GT3 RS, that kind of screamy, really race car feel is something else.
On edge, yeah.
So I don't think it's easy to answer it with it's
the layout.
There's one thing that's the perfect one. I think that even though this is against what I just said, I think the F12. If I could have one car, the F12 is just perfect.
Yeah.
With an exhaust. Whoop. That would be the one. But yeah.
Okay, F12.
Yes.
So, F12, what driving road? If you had to go to a driving road now, it's empty.
So
what road?
There's this road, what do they call it? I think it's Clarence Drive.
Yeah.
I think Clarence Drive.
It's literally Strand.
Yes, Strands, Gordons Bay, Royals, that whole stretch. I think that has to be one of the best driving roads that I've ever seen.
It's
I've caught that road sometimes, even on the F650, which isn't that fast. I've caught that road when it's empty. And it's I could go up and down for hours. I mean, I honestly don't... Controversial.
Yeah.
I don't really see that much of an appeal in Franschhoek Pass.
Oh, okay.
People go nuts over it and it's it's Franschhoek Pass. I don't really get, what's the big deal? It is nice, don't get me wrong. But I think Clarence Drive is a dream.
I think Franschhoek Pass is maybe just got the hype because it's one road. That's insane in quite there isn't three next to each other. That's good. It's one in a big area.
Yeah, you're right.
Good. But I would also I agree with Clarence Drive. Just so my first experience with a sort of a supercar, and I'm not going to call it a supercar, is a 2015 Carrera GTS. Okay, so I didn't drive it. I went for a drive with someone else. The sound bouncing off the rock walls, just punting it on the straights.
Yes.
I've never experienced hard braking in my life.
Yes.
So that was I was thinking maybe halfway through the brakes will probably die. We will probably
just drive off the cliff.
I know the Porsche is very capable, but I've never experienced those kind of hard braking. So for me, driving my mother's Polo, those brakes were fade in 3 hard turns. So that was the first real great experience of cars.
Yes.
For me, that's also where my love of Porsche started.
Oh, okay, I get it.
So that's why I'm a bit more Porsche biased. I'd love to have a bit more manual, definitely flat six.
Yes.
And not necessarily as much power. Just able to bring it to 9,000.
Yes. That's a big thing. That's why I'm looking at the CB400. It's because you can rev it out, and then you're doing if you're in the top gear at high beam, you're looking 200. No.
Speeds,
It was damn, we had this bike, the Triumph Street Triple RS.
Yeah.
And it was by the time you're in second gear, you're doing 190.
Yeah.
And it's okay, but I want to hear the engine. What am I supposed to do here? So yeah, I get you on the Porsche thing. But yeah, the braking and the acceleration in like a McLaren or that 488 level, I think that the braking, even the cornering, most normal non-car people and even a lot of car people can't even fathom what that's like. Like before you had that, that hard braking, because I mean, like maybe it doesn't pull like a 720, but it probably brakes pretty close.
Yeah.
And I don't think most people like really have any understanding of like why you enjoy cars until you have that like whole like visceral experience and like the emotions.
Visceral is the word.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then it's like, oh, okay, I get it. I want this again.
Yeah.
And this is why I pay 2 million rand for a car or 5 million rand
when
for a car.
you watch a video of a car driving quickly, you like engage two senses.
Yes.
What you hear and like
what you see.
Yeah. When it's driving, it's like smelling the fuel.
Yes.
Or like smelling whatever goes on outside.
Yeah.
Like hearing amplified.
Yes.
Like seeing, like of course that's very much the same, but everything like just the feel.
Yes. It's the vibration, everything as well. Like just the way your body's being thrown around is like unlike anything really. Like it's like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And there's nothing I think that you can just go out and do and it's like this similar experience, which I think is almost quite sad to some degree. Because it's like you can't, if you don't own a supercar, you don't own a fast car, the access to that experience is locked away, which I think is kind of a shame. And I think bikes maybe is like a easier step into it, which is why I have a bike. Because it gives me it sometimes gives me that same like supercar pull, supercar braking, or like a visceral experience. But otherwise it's like locked away, especially with the expensive car prices in South Africa.
Sure, definitely.
It's like, you can't just go and buy like a MX-5.
Yeah.
Because they're not super expensive, but they're still like, they still are expensive. Whereas like in the UK, cars are like ridiculously cheap.
And financing.
Yes.
You pay 2-3% interest on your, like the finance deal. South Africa, you don't get that.
Yeah, exactly. You don't even get a loan.
So you don't get loans now.
Yeah.
So it is definitely difficult getting into like the car industry. And that's why I think photography, like, besides just owning a car, like you get into that business and that industry without like major expenses. Like in terms of buying a car, that kind of...
True. I think that's like part of why I got into it.
There's a lot of expenses, there's also a lot of sacrifices you make, but you get to experience insane things.
Yeah, to some degree.
Yeah.
Like when I want to get into cars, I remember having the thought of, okay, what can I do that will add value to supercar owners or dealers or someone who's involved with that? And I was really like kind of into photography at that stage. And I thought, okay, this is a thing I'll invest in. And it has paid off to some degree, and it has like allowed me to do cool stuff. But at the end of the day, like I know photography alone won't buy me one of those.
Yeah.
So it is like a long, or like we'll see where it goes and how it evolves. But it will probably like branch into more things, like not just being a photographer, but being like a business owner that can cover more fields, and then hopefully like I can one day be the guy with the keys, you know what I mean? And maybe give that experience like on Clarence Drive to someone else.
Yeah.
I think that's like a big part of it.
Yeah. But I think we have got to the end of our time for this episode. It has been quite insightful. I've enjoyed the conversation. But Migael, thank you for joining. Thank you for being here. Thank you for having a passion for cars, and thank you for sharing it. I mean, I think it's actually amazing your why are you doing it, actually trying to improve and further supercars and cars and just certain brands actually trying to improve them and the look they have, and just sharing the passion. I think that's awesome.
Thank you.
Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you had a good one. Definitely more episodes to come. Maybe you'll see his face even more in this, but I'll definitely tag his social media and everything. You'll definitely see him a bit more in terms of social media and such. But thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for listening, keeping faithful. But I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good one. Cheers.